Good evening or good late afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the World Bank Pavilion for those of you who are coming back. Welcome to it for those of you who are here the first time. This is our pavilion at COP28, and I am very excited to be here today. I'm going to go off script just for a minute because I'm here with an all-women panel. On a very important topic of climate finance, and no less than 3 Annas and 2 Ana Marias. So there we are. This is going to be good. So I'm going to start with just a few remarks just to put it into context, but the highlight really is what we're going to hear from our panel today. But we've heard, I think, over the last few days that the diversity of climate challenges calls for diversity of solutions, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. Policy and regulatory reforms and public and private investments need to be aligned with the profile of a particular challenge to be effective. Innovative financing mechanisms, including the use of concessional funding, must be built around particular development and climate challenge to make sense. Finance should follow development, not the other way around. The countries of Latin America and the Caribbean combine a diversity of climate and development challenges, which makes the region a perfect lab for innovative solutions. And today we will discuss innovative mechanisms successfully pioneered by the World Bank in partnership with these countries, which can be replicated and scaled up on a global scale. One of the key challenges of investing in climate is that in many cases it takes years for the intended impact of reforms and investments to mature. This means that providing upfront financing is not enough. We must put in place mechanisms and incentives to sustain results in the long term. To address this particular challenge, the World Bank and the government of Uruguay delivered a global first. In this case, the country's Green and Resilient Growth Development Policy loan approved just a few weeks ago. And we're thrilled to have here with us Minister Arbeleche, who was instrumental in making this happen. Another challenge is to mobilize the required amount of funding. We know that public finance alone will never be enough, and so we need to mobilize private money and structure blended finance vehicles to fit both industry and nature-based solutions. National development banks can play a key role in this process given the breadth of their access. So in Brazil, we're financing a $500 million project implemented by Banco do Brasil to strengthen the private agribusiness sector capacity to access carbon credit markets and help Brazil meet its climate goals. Secretary Ana Toni will tell us about how Brazil is transforming this space. Finally, while much has been said about energy transition, it is also critically important to help countries to decarbonize hard-to-abate sectors. Green hydrogen plays a key role in this process, and the government of Chile and the World Bank developed an innovative financing mechanism to help lower risks and incentivize private investment in the green hydrogen industry. Dr. Ana Maria Ruz Frias of the Green Hydrogen Industrial Committee of Chile will tell us much more about it. So, let me turn to the speakers. And Minister Arbeleche, I'm going to start with you. Uruguay has recently made a few headlines, first with issuing a sovereign sustainability-linked bond, and now by incentivizing the World Bank to change the way we do business with middle-income countries, like Uruguay. What were your motivations in this space? How do you intend to take the agenda forward, and what would you recommend to other countries?
Thank you, Anna, for the invitation, and thank you, Anna, Felipe, and team for all the work that we have done together over the last months, maybe more than a year, that brought us today to having this loan ready to be signed and disbursed. So if I may give you some background to your question, Uruguay started in October 2021 as co-chair of the Development Committee of the World Bank and IMF. We started with the idea that countries should be distinguished according to the contribution that they did to this global public good, that it is climate or nature conservation. So we thought that a lower cost of funding should come with a better environmental behavior. So we pushed with this idea on the financial side with the borrowing cost, but it could also take place with the access to market on the commercial side. And the other idea that we strongly advocated was that we really needed concrete results. We really needed to walk the talk. There's no need to have so much diagnosis and so much papers, but really we needed concrete results. So aligned with that vision, 1 year later, in October 2022, Uruguay issued the first sovereign sustainability-linked bond that had a two-way structure. The interest rate had a step up or a step down linked to key performance indicators. These indicators, environmental indicators, they came from the NDCs that we had in the Paris Agreement. So this was very important because it was the first time that the NDCs became financially binding. Up to now, all countries, or many countries, we had presented the NDCs, but there was no consequences if we didn't fulfill those commitments. At the same time, it was the first time that this double structure meant that countries would be rewarded. The other way around, we had a step down. We would be rewarded if we met certain ambitious environmental targets. At that time, for this bond, we chose two indicators, one of which is the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, and the other is the conservation of native forestry. So this means that this implies a huge coordination amongst different ministries: Ministry of Livestock, Ministry of Industry, Environmental Ministry, Foreign Affairs, and Ministry of Economy and Finance. So I think that a new governance was put in place, and this instrument showed Uruguay's clear political determination and commitment to really move forward on the environmental agenda. So building on the design of this bond, we worked together, our teams, the World Bank teams, for many months, lots of conversations, and because we thought it was important, again, to have economic incentives in the loans, not only in the bond as we had in the previous case. We thought it was important to have environmental metrics embedded in the loan. So what happened last month was that the World Bank board, approved a loan for $350 million for Uruguay, where we only have a reward. And this is also important because the bond had the two-way coupon, but this time countries that fulfill this certain environmental indicators, in this case Uruguay, will receive a reward and we have a step down. In the case of Uruguay, this is 1%, 1 point, I'm looking at the director of the GMU, 1 point, he fought a lot about this, and so it's 1 point of interest payment reduction that we have, which means that throughout the life of the loan, this could mean savings of more than $12 million. And these savings are going to be channeled to a fund that will finance smart agriculture projects. So there are a lot of things that are coordinated and come together. And if I may add another important point that we fought a lot until the last minute with Felipe to have this incorporated in the loan, is to have the possibility of developed countries to finance the concessional of interest payment. Nowadays, currently, the step down is being financed by a fund that is from the World Bank, but we have opened the idea that this concessional funding can come from a developed country. So we find it very interesting that it is an opportunity for developed countries to put resources, to allocate resources into this area. We know that developed countries have made a lot of pledges, said that they're going to put resources into this, but we are still behind. They are still behind on this, so we think that this is a good opportunity to fulfill that is pending. Finally, let me stand out that the indicator that we chose for the loan of the World Bank is the reduction in methane, which for Uruguay is very important because livestock, agricultural sector in Uruguay, it's really in the basis of our economic structure. And 3/4 of our emissions come from methane, from agriculture. So for us, it is a challenge, but we want to show the world that a country that produces food for the whole world can do it, can still do it, and can do it in a more productive and better and sustainable way.
Thank you so much, Minister. First of all, for the innovation and pioneering of Uruguay. Secondly, I think for calling attention to methane, which just this week we have also called a lot of attention to methane, coming out with an announcement that we will do more. It's actually almost 20% of global emissions when it comes to it, so methane is important. And thirdly, for actually helping us think through how we can think about helping middle-income countries in this space in our new playbook that we're coming out with. So really appreciate the partnership here, and thank you so much for sharing where it came from and how you thought about it.
And maybe, Anna, the question for the World Bank is, we hope at least to be that this is replicated at a global scale. So
that's what we would like to do, actually. We would love to see more of this. And in fact, when we were together in Marrakesh at the annual meetings and we talked about this, we already had countries saying, we want to do this. So I think that's going to start to happen. So thank you so much again. I'm going to turn to Secretary Tony, and we're going to talk about Brazil. Brazil's greenhouse gas emissions profile makes it a perfect champion for nature-based solutions to climate challenge. And you also have a very ambitious reform program, including the Ecological Transformation Plan. How do initiatives like the Climate Finance Project help you reach your objectives? And how do you intend to take this agenda forward as part of Brazil's G20 and, of course, also COP30?
So thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What an honor to be in a panel of just women. At least it's my first panel during this meeting of just women, so it's really, really good to be here. And I want to start thanking the World Bank. The World Bank has been a really good partner in so many projects in Brazil, in different ministries, and I think is having this overall approach to economic development and bringing climate as a pillar that is really bringing us together. So I think the objective of Brazil, and I understand the same with the World Bank, is to get climate not a niche, but having climate, especially climate finance, looking as the mainstream of our economic development. So what have we done now since the new government has taken over? First, we reviewed our NDCs, being very much inspired by other countries, and we have a quite ambitious NDC that will now get us to 53% reduction of our emissions until 2030. When we compare to, say, the United States or Australia or Canada, for a developing country, is a very ambitious, and we know the problem, the main problem of Brazil has been deforestation, our main sources of emission. So I'm happy to also mention that since the new government took place, deforestation have gone down, the emissions from deforestation and deforestation has been combated by 50%. So that meant that Brazil, in a space of 10 months, has avoided more than 250 million tons of CO2 going up to the atmosphere. So the impact, not of one action, but the action of there are 18 ministers working towards combating deforestation. It shows that if we don't think about climate policy just as a niche, but as a mainstream, all government together trying to fight something is what we're going to get the main emissions reduction. The same principle, and very much inspired by Uruguay's initial proposition, which is to give positive incentive, rather just command and control, but positive incentive is what we're using for others, other programs in Brazil that's beyond the environmental ministry. So with the agriculture ministry now, and again, the World Bank is helping in on that, instead of giving farmers now what they need to do with command and control, we're giving them credits, the same as in Uruguay. Better they get on environmental positions, the credit that they get from the government is lower in terms of interest rates. So we got, it's called Plano Safra in Brazil, we got the whole money that go for Safra, giving us positive incentives for farmers that are using the credits now. Other things that we're also doing, we have now the Brazil Climate Fund is under BNDES, and we have gone to the market now with our sovereign bonds as well, the sustainability bonds, again learning from Uruguay for the experience that Uruguay had, and we were able to get $2 billion coming now to Brazil that's going to go directly to the Brazil Climate Fund to finance areas that will do not only mitigation, but also adaptation projects, because we feel there is a role for the private sector, blended finance, not only for mitigation programs, but also for adaptation in the sustainability fund that we got now on the sovereignty bonds. The carbon market is a very important, again, the World Bank has been a partner in the past and continues being a partner. We are trying to pass a law in Brazil. Hopefully we'll have some good news this week that we will be able to have a Brazil climate credit on also giving incentive for farmers, for the energy sector. In a way, what Brazil is trying to do, using the pillar of mainstreaming climate finance, not just to become a niche. We want it to be the way Brazil thinks in all its economic development, from energy to agriculture, bringing nature-based solutions, the bioeconomy, all through the Brazilian economy. And we are really lucky that we have a Minister of Finance that has totally embraced the ecological transformation, that has six axes, that shows that what we needed to do in Brazil is not just mitigation or adaptation, is the transformation of our economic model and using the instruments, the economic instruments to do that. And our main concern now is to work on those economic instruments, as many countries are doing, to ensure that the economic incentives that we give to the different sectors, and using our NDC, using our climate plans as the basis for the economic instruments and the economic models that we will have. I think we're doing this partnership, and I finalized here with the new mechanism that was announced by Brazil during this COP, and I'm sure the World Bank will be a partner again with us, which is a mechanism to support standing forest. We talked a lot about avoiding deforestation. Obviously, there are economic mechanisms for reforestation, all very important. But we don't have, as yet, many economic instruments for standing forests and all the ecosystem services that forests are already giving us. So Brazil has launched an idea on how to finance standing forests, and we already had meetings with the World Bank to see how the World Bank can help us and all the other forest countries to put together a stronger proposal, and the money is going to come from sovereignty funds, from oil and gas, and so hopefully the World Bank is going to help us to make sure that this is concrete, and we are hoping to raise 250 billion could a billion, $250 billion for standing forests is something that we wanted to start now and to be able to launch that in COP30. So thank you very much.
Wow. So, you know, Brazil very much is the global home of the larger part of the Amazon. So if it can be done in Brazil, it is a game changer. And I heard three things that I think are quite impressive in terms of the ecosystem needed. One, in a short period of time, you turned it around, reducing at a very significant rate deforestation. I think this is great. Secondly, you mentioned something I think is very important, the whole of government buy-in, which brought the whole cabinet around the priority. And thirdly, both Uruguay and Brazil focusing on positive incentives as opposed to the stick or the I think this is very powerful, and that you're seeing a response is incredibly insightful and I think encouraging and something to keep an eye on. So thank you so much for sharing it and good luck. But I think you're already on the path and it sounds like it's going very, very well. Now, what I'd like to do is turn to Executive Director Rus. And I want to talk about hydrogen, something that's also very, very excited. You're leading with a $1 billion green hydrogen facility, and we're very pleased that we're doing it together as well as with other multilateral development banks. And you're also part of the World Bank's Hydrogen for Development Partnership. And my question to you is, what do you see as key factors needed to make green hydrogen projects happen in your country? How does the innovative financing mechanism help? And what approach would you recommend to other countries that are thinking about hydrogen? Over to you.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm part of the Corfo. Corfo is the Economical Development Agency of the Ministry of Economy of Chile. So we are looking at hydrogen as a tool for developing our country. It's not the point of view of our Ministry of Energy that is energy solution, but we are looking for more jobs, more local industry, and increasing our GDP at the end. On 2021, we make a call for the first industrial scale plant of producing hydrogen in Chile. Now we have going ahead with this project, and in the time also other projects have been announced. A lot of projects, more than 40 or 60 projects are announced along the country. So concerning the key factors, enabling, the first one is to enabling an ecosystem for those projects. I mean, this Corfo has defined the Green Hydrogen Committee for developing the industry of green hydrogen in Chile. I'm the director of this committee. So this, we work public sectors. We have a board of 11 ministers and the vice president of Corfo. So we are working together on that. For example, the Minister of Economy is in charge of the regulation, to change the regulation. You need to change the chemical regulation, or, you know, hydrogen is not catalogued as a fuel, ammonia also. So we need to change a lot of regulation in terms of the use, in terms of the agency in charge of that, and in terms of safety. So the Ministry of Economy is in charge of that. The Ministry of Environmental is in charge of the environmental licensing. So we need to give more certainty to the project in order to mitigate the environmental risk and the acceptance of the society. In terms of the Ministry of Transport, we need a common infrastructure. In the Magallanes region, for example, I announced more than 10 projects. We cannot think in 10 ports in that area. We need a common infrastructure. We need regulator plans that are common in terms of logistics, not just the port, the highways, the storage areas, etc. And also with the Minister of Public Assets, because most of the projects have asked for public lands for building the projects. So how we are delivering those lands, so those areas, and the costs of this, that is very important. And the Ministry of Finance, also, obviously, they are working on tax incentives, but also they have key in the financing scheme that, like the facility, 1 billion facility that we have, with the objective to reduce the capital costs and mitigate the risk perceived by the private financing sector to the technology. We have some experience in Corfo because we financed the concentration solar power plant of Cerro Dominador, a new technology, one investment over $1 billion. So we have the money that we have, it could be a low quantity for trillions or billion dollars of investment that we required. But this is a signal of the state that we believe in that technology and that reduce the risk, and then the flows of finance could come in. Concerning your second question, innovative financing, we are talking in nascent industry for accelerating debt in debt invitations to the private banks. Environmental for investors are needed. So the facility will target public funding with lower cost of capitals and mitigate the risk, providing blended finance to reducing the capital cost, and also reserve accounts to mitigate the risks, but also warranties to reduce the risk of default, more from facility to final moving the project from the facility feasibility studies to the final investment decision. Concerning the third question, the recommendation to the countries, other countries, I think that each country is different. We, as Chile, we only have the renewable energy. We don't have fossil fuels. So our strategy is very particular. In the case of Colombia, in the case of Brazil, it's different. They have some fossil fuels, so the strategy could be different. But one issue very important is the scale of investment. As the report of the bank said, the rule of thumb, 1 million tons of hydrogen require 10 gigawatts of electrolyzers, 20 gigawatts of renewables, and $30 billion of investment. Our national strategy, we have a very ambitious goal, 25 gigawatts of electrolyzers installed by 2030. That is very ambitious, you must believe me, because all Europe has 40 gigawatts of electrolyzers for the same day, 2030. So 25 gigawatts means of electrolyzers means 75 billion of investment. It's impossible to accelerate this investment. We need to work public and private together. In that sense, we have a national green hydrogen strategy launched in 2020, and our Ministry of Energy is working very hard to give that signal. We have a strategic committee, and with agreement between the political right and left side, in order to ensure to the companies that that is a state strategy, not just an administrative strategy. That is very important for us. Also, we have the green hydrogen facility that is $1 billion coming from the World Bank, $150 million, $400 million from the IDB, and from the European banks, KfW and European Investment Bank, 100 million euros. And the rest is put by Corfo. So with this, we hope to have a signal and a model that could be replicated in another part of the world. But we have a very important challenge to be able to do that. So Hydrogen for Development partnership is very useful for us, really help us, because we need not only think in exporting hydrogen and derivatives. We need also have local development. We need also have manufacturing in Chile. So we are thinking, we have a first RFI concerning who manufacturers of electrolyzers are interested in installing Chile. And we hope to have a call, request for proposal in the second part for having a manufacturing electrolyzers in Chile. We know that there's a gap of manufacturing. Actually, the companies have the delivery time of 2 years for delivering the electrolyzer. So that is an important issue, why the large companies are going to sell the electrolyzer to a small country as Chile and not to United States with the IRA or other countries that have a better subsidy. So we think that we have an opportunity to develop manufacturing in Chile. Also to use not only exporting the green hydrogen, also exporting green steel or exporting green glasses or other products. So we have more elaborated products that we can export. So local value creation is very important. And the work that we are doing is just to catalyze the process. So we are on that.
Thank you so much. And congratulations, really. 3 quick things. I don't know why I'm always picking up 3, but I am. First, I really loved how you positioned hydrogen as this is about economic growth for the country. It's about jobs. It's about local industry. So really like how you said it's not really an energy solution per se. It's much bigger. Secondly, when you talk about what type of incentives were needed, I think you acknowledged something a lot of countries are thinking through, which is, given that it's relatively new, how do you manage risks with the uncertainty that we don't yet know how it will play out? And I really thought that came through very well. And thirdly, how you mobilize partnerships. You have a lot of partners in this that are bringing money to the table, but hopefully also experience that makes this, this very significant first one of many to come. So I really want to thank you for that. So this actually brings us to the end, and I just think these ladies are leading the way on some incredible innovation. I want to thank you. And I can only say what I think we heard is we heard a lot about innovation across the board. We heard a lot about incentives, which I think continue to be very, very important. But we also heard a lot about speed and scale, being able to move fast, but also being able to set the stage for replication and scalability. And for us at the World Bank, we're just so proud and so privileged to be able to partner with you on this. And thank you for also, again, allowing us to think through how can we be quick, go to scale, and have impact. So thank you so much. And thanks to all of you.